Hey guys, this is Goku, and on this channel we talk about poker and ideas that can improve your life. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the subscribe button because I'll be honored to have you here. Today we're gonna continue playing on the Poker Snowie site where we're not actually playing, we're just analyzing hands. And on the last session we imported a new pack of hands from 888 Poker and we went through some of the blunders that we did, and during this session we're just going to finish analyzing all the blunders because there was 22 of them and we only got to 9 I believe during the last session. So let's continue. Now we've got ace 8 off on 125 250 blinds, and we open this hand from the hijack. We get a 3-bet from the small blind and we actually shove it, which I agree is a bad play, is way too loose, and ace 8 off I think is a bad candidate to 3-bet, to 4-bet bluff. And we see the tip that the snow gives us. Your opponent showed quite a bit of strength and you have to select carefully the hands for bluff raising. There are better hands with more potential after a call which should be used for bluff raising. The current hand should just be folded. And I fully agree with this statement. So we see that we're actually lucky enough to split the pot, but this is a bad spot which we should not find ourselves in. So let's move on. Now we've got 8 big blind stack, or 9 big blind stack, or 8.5 with ace 9 on the big blind, and the action goes limp, all in from the under the gun +1, and we decide to call it, which I actually think is fine with ace 9 off on such blinds in the tournament. And yeah, I don't really have any issues with shoving ace 9 here, because usually this under the gun +1 player will have a similar hand to ours. It's not like he's not doing that with king 10 off like we see, and you don't really want to wait forever on 8 big blinds to catch a better hand. The small blind player will often fold here, so we'll go heads up to a spot where we have pretty much 50% equity or something, so it's okay. But we see actually the small blind does decide to move along with us, and we go all in, 3-handed to a flop of 6 ace jack. There's 4 on the turn and 3 on the river, and we actually take down the spot. So cool. Let's go to another hand. Now we've got 7-8 off on a nearly 200 big blind stack. There's an open from hijack. Small blind calls, and we decide to tag along with 6-8 off, which is perfectly fine. The flop is 10 king 3 with all spades, and it goes check check check. On the 8 of spade turn it goes once again check check check, and on the 6 of diamonds it goes bet half pot, and we fold our flush, which is weird, and I agree is a bad play. We should call here. I'm not sure why we folded. Maybe we just misread our hand and didn't notice that we have the 7 of spades. But yeah, the other guy folded, so the small blind took this spot down. Let's go to another blunder. It's a big one, 576. Let's take a look at it. Blinds are 1530. We've got like 160 or even nearly 70 big blinds stack. There's a limp on the button. We bump it up to 5 BBs and get called by the button The flop is Jack 8-10. The button, we lead out for 80% pot bet, which is fine. We get called. There's the queen of spades on the turn. We check. And the button bets 150, so 15% of the pot. And we raise it up to 600, so we raise that 4x. But still to around 60% of the pot, or well, now less. And Snowy says it's wrong to do this here, huh? Snowy says we should just call here with pocket aces. And that's a little bit weird, if you ask me. I don't know, I always find these donk bets hard to play against. I usually raise them, but maybe I shouldn't. Maybe we should just call here and reevaluate on the river. But if a card like 9 falls down, or a card like, well, king is actually a good card, so no, but yeah, I think it's fine to raise here. It seems to me this way, but Snowy seems to think that it's a pretty big EV lost play, so we should look out for this in the future. But yeah, we did raise 4x, and MS Sweeney called our bet. There was a 5 of spades on the river, and we let out for half pot bet, which is fine. But we see the solver's not doing that too often. It's just doing that 7% of the time, and 12% it's betting quarter of the pot. I think it's actually makes a lot of sense to check here and go check call, because we may get some value from hands that want to bluff. But the villain folded, so let's move on. This one's another biggie, minus 19 big blinds of EV loss. Let's check this out. We've got 48 big blinds on 5100 blinds. There's an open from under the gun to 3 BBs. Call under the gun +1. We decide to call as well with king queen off. There's a 3-bet from the player behind us. And there's an all-in from the button. And we decide to call this all-in. I think this may just be a rebuy tournament where we are just looking for spots like this to triple up and build a big stack. Or if not, then just to rebuy. So I think it's probably such a case, and then it's not such a big error because we are just wanting to gamble. But yeah, we decide to call that. We get called by the player after us as well, and we actually do get lucky, or not. We actually don't get lucky because pocket sixes take this down. But you see, if there wasn't this 6, we would have gotten lucky and tripled up. And in rebuy tournaments, you often want to take spots like that in the rebuy phase, because building a big stack will allow you to just slide through the tournament easily. But yeah, it is definitely a blunder to call it here if it's a regular freeze-out tournament or a cash game, unless you're playing with friends who you know just want to rebuy as well, and then it's a similar situation. You're just fine with a little advantage in equity in a 3-way pot and a chance to triple up. So let's go to the next one. Here is another big one. 24 BBs of EV loss. What? Let's see this. The blinds are 25-50. We've got a 90 big blind stack with ace-10 off. There's a limp. Actually, there's 2 limps. We raise it up to 4 BBs. And Snowy would actually fold here already, which is weird. But we get called by the player after us. And the cutoff calls as well. The small blind calls. And the two limper calls. So we actually see a six-handed hand, a six-handed flop, or with 6, 10, 5. And he goes check, bet one big blind, call one big blind, and we raise it up to, well, to I think too much, to 52% of the pot. It's an unnecessarily big sizing. Well, I think we should mostly just call here. But if we take a look at this, the race is 0 EV, just a small EV loss. And we get actually 3-bet by pocket queens. And we see Snowy is saying that this is a bad play to re-raise here with pocket queens. It's a minus 12.6 error. But we actually do decide to shove it with our hand. And this definitely is a bad play, one that we should not ever do with ace-10 off here. We're basically turning this hand into a bluff. And it doesn't make sense at all. We should probably just fold it here. Yeah, more often than not, we will be way behind and have little equity here. But we do get called and we do not hit anything, so we lose to a pair of queens. Let's go to another one, a smaller one, blinds 25-50. We've got 90, 85 big blind stack. To 180 or 90 big blind stack. We're on the big blind with 9-7 off. There's a limp, raise to 2 BBs, call. We call as well, and original limper calls. So we see a 4-handed flop of 9 deuce ace, goes all checks. There's a 7 of diamonds on the turn, and we decide to bet 80% of the pot, which is fine, but we see this that Snowy rather likes checking here, and it makes sense. If we check, there's definitely a much bigger chance than on the flop that one of these players will take a stab at this pot and then we'll raise him. But we do decide to lead, and we get 2 calls, so that's nice. And on the 10 of clubs on the river, we decide to bet once again 80% of the pot, which I don't really like here because the flush came, and if we bet, we're scaring them off often. The hands that we beat, that are beating us, are probably not folding, or the vast majority of them are not folding. And the hands that we're beating will fold, and hands that we may want to bluff will fold as well. So it's better to check here, and we see that the Snowy is checking 2/3 and 1/3. It's betting a quarter pot bet, but we bet and they fold, so that's fine. 8-7 off on the button, 88 big blind stack on blinds 50-100. There's an open from under the gun, call from middle position, and we decide to tag along with 8-7 on the button. This is loose for sure. I totally agree. But in the beginning stages of the tournament, it sometimes makes sense to just tag along if we see that the table is loose, and you may get a nice chance to flop a straight draw or even a straight with this hand and take entire stacks of your opponent. So sometimes it makes sense to play a little bit on the loose side. The big blind calls as well, and we actually do see a nice flop of 6-9-3 with two hearts. Goes check check, and then middle position player bets full pot, and we actually fold this, which is very weird because we did flop the open-ended straight draw, which is the main reason we actually, played this pot to hit a flop like this, and we decided to fold. So I'm not sure what happened here. Maybe we were distracted with something, or I don't know, maybe we had some tells on this player that he's very tight when he bets flop like that. I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. Another big one, 8.81 BBs of EV loss. Blinds are 100 and 200. We've got 44 big blinds. 47 big blinds. And we see a limp, another limp, and we limp our 7-8 off as well, which is again a little bit loose. But if the table likes limping, then sometimes it makes sense to just play the game and limp along. We see a flop of king, king, jack with two hearts. It goes all checks. I don't really see any value in betting here with our hand. Sure, we close the action and we could bet, but are we really going to get three people to fold here often enough for this to be a profitable play? Well, maybe, but I don't know. I would rather think not if this table is, loose and just likes to call because, all these players limped before the flop, so why would you expect them to fold to a single bet? There's an 8 of clubs on the turn. It goes once again, 3 checks, and we actually do decide to bet now, which I like because we hit the pair. We want to get some value, and yeah, but solver thinks it's bad. It should. I mean, it's not bad because you see the EV loss is very small, but yeah, we get 2 folds, and only the hijack player decides to call. And on the river, there's an ace of spades, and he leads to us for a full pot bet, which we call. And here I'm actually not that sure if I agree with the solver. Because, well, the straight draw did complete, and he does have the straight draw. But, the flush draws did not complete, and there were lots of them. Yeah, I think if he bets full pot here, we should just fold our hand. It's too weak of a hand. I mean, we've got just too many better hands for a hero call, and thus I think we should not just 7-8 should not be in our calling range here. Let's move on. Blinds 1500, 3000, ante 375. You've got ace king off on a 50 big blind stack, and there's a all-in open from under the gun, and we reshove it, which I think is perfectly fine. I don't think it's a mistake in a tournament, especially. So I'm fine with this. And as you see, we just split the pot. So let's move on. Pocket eights on over 200 big blinds deep. So let's see what happens here. Limp from under the gun. We raise it up to 3 BBs, which is perfectly fine with pocket eights, and we get a call from the limper. Flop is 10-3-10 with 2 spades. Goes check, we bet half pot, and he calls, which is fine. Turn is deuce of diamonds. We the under the gun player checks, and we bet 80% of the pot. And again, I think it's perfectly fine to bet here such an amount. We see EV wise, it's better to bet half pot here. 80% is 2 BBs of EV loss, but if we bet half pot, it's the same EV. Surprisingly, the solver prefers one full pot size bet, but it doesn't do it here, so I'm not sure what that means actually. But yeah, we do decide to bet 80% and we get called. The river is queen of spades. The initial raiser checks, and we of course check behind, and we see that he was just dropping us with the flush. But Eddie 3 Philip, you know, should not do that to your opponents. But yeah, let's move on here. We've got pocket queens on 150-300, so we've got something like 150 big blinds on the button. It goes limp from under the gun +1, open, raise, yeah, it isn't open actually, from hijack, and we 3-bet it with pocket queens, which is fine. Get called by the initial raiser, and on the flop 10-8-5 it goes check. We bet half pot, we get raised to 3x, and we fold. Why did we fold pocket queens here? I honestly have no idea. Yeah. I honestly have no idea why we folded pocket queens here. Maybe we had some stats, some tells on this Ricky Barbarossa player, and we thought that, I don't know, he's not doing that with a hand worse than a set or kings or aces. No idea. But we should just fold it here, and or maybe even shove sometimes. But yeah, let's go to the last one. We've got 9-8 suited on a 90 big blind stack, and let's see what happens here. There's an open from low jack, right? We're on the hijack, and we call this open with 9-8 suited, which is loose for sure. A little loose, actually. You need at least 10-9 suited to call, so it was pretty much on point. We see a flop of ace 3-4 with 2 hearts. The initial raiser checks. We decide to take some initiative in this hand and bet half pot. The initial raiser calls. Jack of spades on the turn. It goes check, and we bet a little over half pot once again, and we see Snow is doing the same. We get called, and there's a 9 of spades on the river. It goes check, and we bet 7,000, so 55% of the pot. And Snowy thinks this is a mistake. 2.56 BB of EV loss. We see if we're betting here, it should be full pot and not 50% of the pot. EV wise, of course, but we see Snow is not doing that often, just 14% of the time. but we should just give up on this hand mostly. And this is because we did hit some equity at the end. We hit a pair of nines, and it makes this hand different. If we didn't hit this 9, then we gotta bluff here, definitely more often than 14% of the time. But we did hit that, so I guess that's why Snow is just checking here a lot of the time, or 100% with this sizing. But yeah, we got called, and the villain showed an ace, so there's that. Okay, that will be it for this session. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I certainly enjoyed going through it. I think in the next session we may play an errors analysis. Wow, there's 223 errors. It's gonna take a while to analyze them, right? So I'm not sure if we're gonna do that. Maybe we'll take a look at another pack of hands from 888 Poker and just focus on the blunders, because yeah, I just want to play a few more sessions of Poker Snowy, and then that'll be it. I think we will just try to look for another piece of software of poker software and use that one. So thank you very much for watching. If you stayed this long, please leave a comment below. Just write Poker Snowy or ask any question you might have. I highly appreciate your comments. I really like answering your questions. So please do that. You can go check out the description to see more playlists with some previous GTO spots or different poker software that we've been training at, or that we've been just analyzing. And if you do, I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.